All right, so we're doing the Ultimate Assistant step by step. Just starting this off right here, and we'll see if I break it up into different parts. We'll see if I get frustrated. I don't presume I will because the prompts weren't even super complex, and the from AI function makes this stuff really easy. So let's just get started. Basically, this process we're starting with the actual Ultimate Assistant, and then we're going to get into the first agent we'll probably do is the contacts agent and then email. But obviously we need to start off this guy with a Telegram trigger because that's how we're talking to it. So first thing we're going to do is, we've got our Telegram trigger. I'm going to test step, say hi, as I always like to do to start off, just so we can get our information. We know it's working. We can grab our ID and everything. So I'll just pin this for now. And then from there, we're going to add an AI agent. So this is typically what you do. You'd map this right away into, you grab in the text and you put that into there right here. But we know that we want to be able to speak to this thing with our voice as well as text it. So what we're going to do is we are going to grab a switch. And so this is just going to route either up or down. It's going to route it up here, and we can transcribe that audio if it's a voice file. Otherwise, it's going to send it straight into the agent. So because this one was not a voice file, we can see that what happens is we have text. So we can grab text, and basically this switch is going to be looking for, does json.message.text exist? If yes, we will continue down this path, and let's just rename this real quick. We'll rename it to text. And then basically the other one is going to be, if it doesn't exist, it's going to go the other way. I actually want to switch the order. Can I? Yeah, I can drag that up here. Okay. So now we're going to have to configure this other one. So let's go back into here, unpin this data, test step, and I'm going to talk to it now. Oh, we have to connect to chat model. Otherwise, it's not going to let us do that. So let me just grab a 4.0 real quick, which is right there. And yeah, let's test workflow. We're going to chat with this guy. Hello, hello. There we go. So now a voice file has been sent through, and all we have to do is output one item text. I mean, we don't even have to technically map it because it's going to be sent down this field because this one doesn't exist. But what we'll do is we'll just say if voice exists. We'll do the exact same thing. So if voice exists, which it does, it'll go down this branch. So if we test this step, what's the issue here? Oh, it's because it's okay. Let's just do if the MIME type exists. So that's audio. Now it'll go up through this path. Okay, cool. So let's just continue down this path while we're at it. So what we're going to do now is we need to grab a Telegram node to download this file. So we're looking for the action to download, get a file. Here it is. And what we're going to feed in is the file ID that's coming in. So we're going to grab the file ID. This is the voice file that we just sent over. We're going to download it. We'll hit test step. Now we have that voice file. And then finally, we're just going to get an open AI. We're going to grab a transcribe a recording and connect your credential. And then pretty much we're feeding in that binary data. We'll hit test step, and this should say hello, hello. There we go. Hello, hello. And cool. So before we can actually send this stuff back in, what we need to do is set the field, because as you can see here, this is coming through as json.text. And what's leaving here is going to be JSON something else. So, oops. Actually, that's fine. What we want to do is define below, and we're going to grab, I guess it's not there right now, but we know it's going to be JSON.text. I won't do it just so you guys can see what's going on. But anyways, we're going to grab an edit fields, not an edit image. We're just going to call this one set text. And now what we can do is we're going to set this as text. And then we're going to test it again just to map what that actually looks like. So here we go. We're going to say hello again. It's going to go down this path because it's text. Once we're in here, we can grab that text, set that to a field called text. So now we have text coming from here and also text coming out here. So now we know that we can define this below by bringing in json.text. Remember that JSON means that we're referencing whatever node is, immediately previous to this node. And so this time it's always going to be getting the right stuff. So that's the input. We've pretty much configured the input. And let's just give this guy a name, Ultimate Assistant. And now we're good to go. So that's the input. We have speech and text. We're able to talk to this guy. Now let's start to configure, this other stuff. So let me real quick just open up a new tab in a new workflow in a new tab. And we're going to start building out real quick the contact agent, because, we want to be able to work with our contacts so that we can do stuff like send emails and calendar invites. Step by step. Contact agent step by step. Cool. We know that we're going to have to start this one with an execute sub workflow, which is going to be a trigger. We want to just change this to accepting all data. This would be where you could define specific fields that are coming over, but in this case, we're just going to be getting a query. So we're going to accept all data. We know that this data is going to get immediately fed into an AI agent who will then take the query and interpret what it needs to do. So this is the contact guy. We're going to change this to define below. And we know, just because we've done this a lot, that this is going to be coming through as JSON.query. You wouldn't know this maybe if this is your first time, but basically, let's say we're sending over a query from the main agent that says, here, actually, you know what? Let's not do it that way. Let me just show you guys. This is a step-by-step. So first, let's just connect the chat model real quick. I need to just delete that test R1 credential, because every time it defaults to that, and I switch it every time, and I never use this thing. You know what? Let me just delete this right now. I don't know why I'm putting it off. Let's delete that. Let me delete this open router credential as well for now, because I just want this to be the default one. Okay, perfect. So GPT-4o. Now I have been productive already. So, okay, we're going to save this. We're going to add a workflow as a tool up here. Calling it in workflow as a tool. We're going to call this guy the contact agent. In here, we're going to call it contact agent in camel case. We're going to say, call this tool to take action within the contact database. That should be good for now. And then from list, we're going to grab the contact agent step-by-step that we just created. And that's it, right? So a couple things to keep in mind. This tool will call the workflow you define below. So we just built that one out. And look in the last node for the response. The workflow needs to start with an execute workflow trigger. So right now we have that execute workflow trigger. We're going to set up the response later, but right now we're good to go. And so what I'm going to do is we're going to pretend like we have this stuff set up, and we're going to ask it to get my contacts. So it should be routing it to the contact agent. It's not going to be able to get anything. Obviously, we haven't set up any tools, but I just want to show you guys how the query comes through. And obviously, we haven't set up the response yet in Telegram either, so nothing's going to come back. But the output here is, it seems like you want your list your contacts, but I need some more information, so it can't get our contacts. We'll go into this agent. We can see that it just got executed because the main one called it. So we're going to look in here, and we will see that we have this query, which is list contacts. And that's how I knew that it's going to come through as JSON.query. So because we could feed in JSON.query, it's going to see what we get every time. Cool. So now that that's been established, let's connect our contact database. So this is going to be an Airtable tool. This is going to be get contacts. We're going to be doing it from our base in Airtable called contact. The table is also called contacts. So in here we have a contacts base right here. And then the table is contacts. As you can see, I have other tables in here, but this is contacts. So we've got these contacts, and cool. So record ID, that's not what we want to do, because we want to just search through all of them and pull back everything. So we have return all, and that really should be it for now with get contacts. Now what we need to do is we need to be able to update contacts as well. So actually, before I do that, best practice, the way that I told you guys you should be building these things, is add a tool, test it, make sure it works before you add another one. So let's do that. Rather than me coming back over to the main agent, hitting test step, talk to it in Telegram, we're able to just test in this environment by setting an example query that's going to come through. So if I come in here and I just make the field query, and then I set the actual query to what is Nate Herkelman's email. So that's a query. We'll hit save. So now that's as if the agent, the Ultimate Assistant, had sent that over. We'll hit test on this guy. Keep in mind there's no prompting within the contact agent, but we can see that we got, here's Nate Herkelman's email, and we got that back in our contact database. That's correct. Cool. So sorry for jumping around all these different tabs here, but that tool's working. And remember, there's not even a system prompt in here yet. So that's cool. let us add another Airtable node, because what we did in the tutorial was we had one to add or update contact. So this one's going to be create or update. Same thing, we're choosing the same, we're choosing the same base, the same table. As soon as this loads in, let me refresh the list. Contact table, and then we want to, okay, so it's gonna map on ID. Is that what we want to match on? I don't know, I think we want to match on name. Okay, this is pretty cool actually. We ran into an issue on one of the tech support calls where in Google Sheets you could only match on one column, but in Airtable you can match on two. So if there's like, if that's how you make a unique pair is by matching on two, that's cool. Anyways, ID. So I don't even want to match on ID because in here all we really are looking at is name, email, phone number. So cool. We're gonna grab the from AI function. We're gonna type in, I think name should just be able to work. We're gonna basically do the same thing down here where we're doing email address. We'll test this out, and if it's not working, we will basically just, you know, add a description or something. And now this is gonna be phone number. Cool. So let's save this and test out a new query. We're gonna say, who's the contact in here? Mark Johnson. Okay, so we're gonna change Mark Johnson's email. Change Mark Johnson's email to Mark123 or 2343 at example.com, and then off with a quote, and let's send that through to the contact agent, see what we get. Okay, so it's doing it wrong. First it got contact, then it added, so let's see if it updated it. Okay, so it didn't update it. We can see here Mark Johnson, so it looks like it tried to. Did we spell something wrong? Mark Johnson. Oh, okay. There, it did update it. It just took a while. Okay, so it worked. But what we don't like is that the fact that it went here first. I mean, maybe that's how it's supposed to work, but yeah, so this is going to be a prompting thing. So let's just come in here real quick and add a system prompt. I'm going to say, you know, overview. You are a contact manager. You have tools to take action within the contact database. I think we're going to start off by just telling it its tools. So the first one we said was get contact. We're going to use this to get contact information like email address or phone number. And then you also have add or update contact. Use this to add a new contact to the database or update an existing contact. Okay, so I don't think we're gonna even give it examples yet. Let's just try this one again and see what it does. I'm just curious why it's, oh, that's interesting. It looks like Mark Johnson's email is already updated to Mark2343. Oh, okay. So that's why it's calling the tool to make sure that it doesn't need to update it if it's already like that. So maybe that's fine. Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm okay with that. If we wanted to, we could prompt this in to say, you know, like, here's an example of when you would do that. And maybe like we could structure the output as far as, you know, if their email is already like that, but you were asked to update it, here's what you do. I think in this case, we're good to go. Yeah, I'm fine with that. I think the main function here is that we want to be able to get contacts, add or update. I mean, obviously, like I said, it really will just come down to the prompting of how you want your agents to behave. In this case, I'm good with that. But we could always add, like, you know, we'd add rules, and then we'd say, okay, if you know, if you're told to update a contact, you don't get contacts first. You basically just go straight to the add or update contact. We could give an example where we would just feed in, you know, this exact query, and then we'd say, you know, if that's already their email address, then here's what you'll do. But yeah, this is just a really simple agent. We don't want to overwhelm it. but I hope that makes sense. So cool. Looks like we've got the contact agent working. I'm going to unpin this, and hopefully if there's more problems, we'll have to come back and we'll debug it. But for now, it seems like we're good to go with the contact agent. We're going to now move on to the email agent. So create a new workflow here. We're going to go email agent step by step. And same thing, this one's going to start with a execute sub workflow. So this is a trigger. Once again, we're going to accept all data as our input, and we're going to hook this bad boy up to an AI agent. Give this guy a name. He's going to be email. Excuse me. And then we know already that this is going to be coming through as JSON.query. System message, for now, we'll leave it as this. We'll test it out because this one will have more tools than the contact agent. We're going to grab this, and beautiful, I don't have to change my credential because I already deleted those other two. And let's grab 4.0. Okay, cool. So first tool, of course, is going to be the Gmail send tool node. So yeah, send message. We've got our subject and our email type. And as you know, what we're going to do is basically just be utilizing the from AI function to set these all up. So this one's going to be an email address. Copy that expression, paste it into here as the subject. Copy this, paste it into message as an expression, and grab this as the email body. Finally, I just like to turn off the append end-to-end attribution. This is where we could add, CC attachments, sender name if we'd like. We're just going to call this tool send email. Cool. So we have send email. We're going to test this one out. I'm just pulling up the agent on my other screen to make sure that I'm not going to miss out on any tools. But yeah, so we're going to come in here and say, actually no, because we want to test this and first make sure that it's going to be able to, we want to first make sure that the main agent can grab a contact and then pass it over to here. So we're going to test this back in the actual workflow for now. Once we know that it's working, then we'll test in this environment. But okay, so we've got a send email tool. We're going to come in here, send an email to Mark Johnson saying what's up, and ask him if he wants to hang out tomorrow. Okay. Hitting contact agent. Gonna grab Mark Johnson's. Oh, we don't even have the tool set up. Okay, here's a draft of the email to Mark. Subject, what's up? Hi Mark, what's up? Okay, so we already know one thing that we want to fix. I talked about this in my prompting video. This Ultimate Assistant's job is just to route queries around. We don't want it to be doing this exactly. We don't want it to be creating a draft, creating the subject. We just want it to send over the query. So two things we're going to do real quick. What just happened? First thing is we're going to grab the email agent step-by-step workflow that we're working on, which was called email agent step-by-step. This is going to be email agent, and we're going to name it again in here in camel case. The reason I'm doing it in camel case is just because in here, if we were to say like email space agent, it won't let us save that. As you can see, we have to have, no spaces, only letters, whatever. So this is going to be email agent in camel case. Description, call this tool to take any action in email. And so we're going to define it here as well as within the system prompt. So usually here I just put like a short description, very, very vague, and then here I tell it more like here's how you use these tools. But anyways, let's set up the system message real quick, at least a little bit to start. So we're going to just chip away piece by piece. First thing, of course, is an overview. You are a personal assistant. Your job is to delegate tasks to the correct tool. You should not be writing emails, creating event summaries, etc. Your only job is sending the incoming query to the correct tool. So this is just because, like I said, it tried to create an email here, and we don't want its job to be that, because then it's wasting chat model. We want the chat model to only think, okay, here's the query the user just sent, which tool can I use? And then boom, send it to that tool. So first of all, that's good. Let's just add the tools it currently has, which is contact. And I'm doing camel case here because that's how we technically name them. Contact agent. Use this tool to get contact information, or no, use this tool to take contact actions, just in case we ask it here to update the contact database. To take contact actions, you must use this before sending emails or creating calendar events with attendees. Okay, so that should be good for now. We may have to go back and tweak that, of course, once we see some errors, but now we have email agent. This one is going to say, use this tool to take action in email. Only send. No, actually, let's just leave it for that. Okay, so don't want to overcomplicate it. We know exactly what we just added. We can tweak things if they error. Yeah, so I'm just going to send through that same query. Send an email to Mark Johnson asking what's up and ask him if he wants to hang out tomorrow. So same thing. It's just the process of, we chip away, we react to what happens, and then we make adjustments. Okay, so we got an error in the email agent. Let's take a look in here and see missing node to start execution. I don't know what that's about. Maybe just because we didn't save the workflow. No execution even happened. So let's just, unfortunately, I think we just got to try that again. Send an email to Mark Johnson asking what's up. I believe that it looks like the contact agent worked successfully though. So hopefully that was pulling back. Yep, so it got his email. Okay, so what happened there was we didn't save the workflow. So this guy was trying to call a workflow that didn't have this trigger. That's what I believe just happened. Anywho, the email's been sent asking what's up. We're gonna go to my sent emails over here, and we'll probably see that that's a fake email, so it didn't work. But that is the email that we asked it to send. So cool. This tool's working. We haven't prompted this guy yet, but we can continue to add on some more tools here. So I believe the next one that we want to do is probably create a draft. No, we want to get emails because a lot of the tools that we're going to have to add within Gmail are going to need to get the email, either their thread or something, so that we can hook up a different tool. So we're going to do get emails here. We're going to say get many. We're not going to return all. We're not going to simplify. We're going to add one filter, which is sender. And this can be either the sender name or the email, and that's how it'll filter. So limit, we're going to come in here and do a from AI in case we just say, hey, can you grab my last 10 emails? So this is going to be limit. I'm going to copy this formula and paste it into here, make it an expression. And then for sender, we're just going to say sender. We'll just say sender. And maybe we could describe that, this can be a sender's name or email address. Just so that way, if the contact agent or if the ultimate assistant, whatever, if we say, hey, can you grab my last 5 emails from Nate, it may go contact database, grab Nate's email, and then send that through, or it may just pass over, can you send it to Nate? We could obviously refine that and say, hey, when you're doing this, only pass over a full name or a full email address. But this will just give us a little bit of wiggle room for now, and we'll just see what kind of stuff is happening. So we got emails. If we're following the rules, we should test this right away. So yeah. Let me just make sure I have some. Okay, I will. Can you get my past 2 emails from Nate Herkelman? Okay. So it should, okay. It's because we didn't tell it to, in the system prompt, we said that you need to use contact agent to send emails. We didn't say you need to use it to get emails. So that's why it, kind of jumped over the contact agent in that case. Let's see, it hopefully still worked. So because it matched on name rather than email address, it worked. So that's good to see. Obviously, these are emails that I just got from Nate Herkelman, so that works. Cool. Now, just keep in mind, that's because of what we did here, where we said, you must use this before sending emails or creating calendar events. We could add in right here and getting emails. So, That's just part of like the reacting. Right now, we're gonna leave it as this because it will work if the sender's name is attached there. You know, if we go into the email agent execution, what we'll see is that in here we grabbed the sender name, which was Nate Herkelman. It filled in the limit as 2, so that's how it's working, right? Cool. Okay, next one that we're gonna do is email reply. So I keep typing in the things when I should be typing in the Gmail node. So this is gonna be email reply. We're going to be sending we're gonna be reply, message, and you could also do draft if you want. Actually, that's interesting. So you could, okay, so if you change to draft, you can't do the operation reply. You would just have to add the thread ID right here, and that's how you reply. So right now, we're not gonna do that though. We're just gonna do a message and we're gonna do reply. Message ID, of course, we need to be able to feed into the from AI function to pull. So this is gonna be ID. I'm gonna give it a key of, or sorry, a description of the message ID. And then the message, of course, will be the same. It's just going to be email body. So from AI, email body. Okay, and we'll turn off the append. Cool. So now we have that. We have to basically tell it to get emails first. You know, I'm just going to test it in here. I don't want to waste Airtable calls, but query, we're going to go reply to my email from Nate Herkelman. And so this probably won't work because we haven't prompted it to get emails first. Oh, wow. Man, these agents just get smarter every day. Okay, spoke too soon. So what would you like to include in your reply to Nate Herkelman's email regarding being late to the meeting? So it grabbed the email, which was talking about, you know, I'm running late. As you can see, you know, there's the ID that we want. But anyways, let's see. Where's the actual text of this email? This thing is crazy long. Yeah. So anyways, the subject was running late. Text is HTML right here. I'm going to be late to the meeting. Please start without me. So that's the email. It grabbed it. We just need to be able to say, hey, feed that thread ID into the email reply tool. So let's do some reactive prompting here. First of all, we're going to give it an overview, which is you are an email assistant. You have tools to take action in email. I'm just going to leave it as that for now. Now here, let's list the tools. The first one we have is send email. Use this to send an email. This one's pretty self-explanatory. Then we've got get emails. Use this to get emails. You must use this before creating a reply. I'm going to say creating an email reply. Okay, so that's just we're addressing exactly what has happened based on our testing. So then we have email reply. Use this to reply to emails. And I would maybe come in here and say, like, you must first get emails to have the message ID, but let's just see if this is working for now. We're going to test this guy out again. Got emails. It's thinking about it again, getting the reply tool, and boom. Reply to Nate Herkelman, letting him know to start the meeting, and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so I just heard that notification. Here we go. So here is the reply right here. Hi, Bob. Thanks for letting me know. I'll start the meeting, and blah, 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 blah. Okay, so that's cool because what it did there was it just replied based on the context. I didn't tell it how to reply. It just created a reply. So that's good and bad. It's good because it's cool, but it's bad because if it just created something random and not hallucinated, but just made some stuff up for you, you don't want that. So that's why we can add like the option to create drafts as replies, all that kind of stuff. Cool. So next thing we want to do is let's just create a draft. Create draft. We are going to obviously do the same thing. This is getting a little repetitive. You know what I should have done is just copied over these, like copied it over. Actually, yeah, let's do that. No, I'm gonna do copy this one, and we're gonna call this one create draft, and then we're going to just do draft instead. So we still have subject, we still have message. Cool. Already set up. Let's just quickly add this one as a little tool in here. Create draft. Oops. Use this to create a draft. I don't think we need to do anything else. I think that should work. I mean, that one's pretty simple. Create a draft to Mark Johnson, asking what time is dinner. Gonna send this one off. It shouldn't need to do anything, but okay, well, actually, we don't have access to the contact database, so it's going to fill it in. It's going to make up some example. Actually, I guess no, because in a draft, you would fill in the two here. So we didn't configure that. So we do need to configure that, but here's the actual body. But I forgot that in the draft tool, you have to configure that down here. So if we want to be able to say like who you're sending a draft to, this is going to be email. I'm just going to say recipient. We probably could just do email address and it would work the same. But what's going to happen here is you'll see that it just probably is making up an email for Mark Johnson, or it errors. And it errors because this is an invalid email address because, like I said, it doesn't have the email address. Mark Johnson is what it tried to put. So if we simply just change this to, Mark Johnson at Gmail. No. If we just did this, it wouldn't error, as you'll see. So we've got these 4 tools working. We'll have to refine some prompting because we're going to get into another complicated one, which is wanting to label emails. And in order to label emails, we need to first get emails or get the labels and also get the message ID of the email to label. So what we're going to do now is, first of all, let's get labels. So we're going to grab another Gmail tool. This one is going to be, the resource is going to be a label. We're going to be getting many or get? No, we're going to be getting many. I'm going to change this to get labels. We're just going to say return all. And then we'll be able to see all the labels, and then we'll be able to see their label IDs. So we have that. And first, let's prompt this guy in here. So get labels. Use this to get labels. We'll leave it as that, and then we're going to add another tool called label emails. And so we're going to say, use this to label emails. You must use get labels first in order to get the label ID. You must also use, get emails before, I'm trying to think of how to word this. Use this to label emails. Before you label them, you must use get labels in order to get the label ID. And you must also use get emails to get the message ID. Okay. So let's try this. First of all, we have to obviously add that email label tool. So this is going to be label resource. The operation is going to be create. No. What we're doing here is we are going to add a label to a message. Okay, so the resource is message, the operations add label. And now here's where we need to do the label ID and the message ID. So these are both going to be expressions. As you can see, you have to choose from labels that are already in your Gmail. You could have an agent create a label and then grab that label ID and tag it. But in the video, all I did was I was pulling back all these labels, pulling their IDs, and then pulling them into here. So This is of course going to be the expression of from AI. We're going to be doing label ID. I think that will be fine for now. Actually, no, we're going to add keys because it's going to be passing over 2 IDs. And we just want to make sure they stay separate. The ID of the label. And then in here, from AI, oops, we're going to say this is message ID. And then we're going to do the same thing, add a key, which is going to be the ID of the message. Okay, so finally we just have to name this, which is label emails. Okay, so what's going on here? It's not supported, and this is just because this is not a valid label ID yet. And so we'll have to test that in order to see if it's working. But okay, so we're just gonna test this guy out. Let me look for an email, which could be this one. So we're just gonna try to label this one as, over here you can see, if my Loom thing's out of the way, customer support, finance, high priority promotion. So we're just gonna label this one as, high priority. So we'll come back in here and say, label my most recent email from Nate Herkelman as high priority. Okay, so let's see if our prompt is robust enough to get emails, get label, there we go, and then go to the label email tool and pass in those correct IDs. Cool, so we have an ID and we have an ID. Looks like we got, everything seems to be going okay. Let's come back in here and actually check. Boom, okay, so we got labeled as high priority, awesome. Okay, so as you can see so far, like this prompt is very, very simple. It just goes tool, when to use it, tool, how to use it, all that kind of stuff. And so we're gonna add, let's see, we have send, get, reply, draft, label. The last one we need to do is mark on red, looking at just what I did in the video. So we're gonna do one final one here, which is gonna be mark on red. Okay, so mark is on red and message, and obviously it's going to be the exact same thing with the message ID. And one thing I want you guys to keep in mind is, like, I know I'm kind of flying through this one and it's not like super refined and robust, but more so these videos are so you guys can just see like the process of how I build these things and like little tweaks and like what I'm doing in the, just to make them actually functional, and then we'll test things out again. But lost my train of thought there. Yeah, I mean, like, there's so many different operations. So technically, if you wanted to build out every single operation that's in here and every resource, there would be more than just these 7 that we're doing. But then it's all the same. It's all about how do you prompt them to work together to do what you need to do. And then you're using a lot of these from AI functions. And as long as you're prompting how the data needs to flow around this workflow, then you're going to be all set. So what we did last time was message ID, and it worked. I'm just going to give it a description as well because it was working. The ID of the message. Cool. All right, so finally we just need to respond back to the main agent. So what I did in the video was, on error, what we're doing is we are continuing using the error output, and I just realized we didn't do this for the contact agent. Hopefully back 25 minutes ago you guys weren't screaming that I didn't do that. But anyways, we're gonna do a set field, and what we're doing is like if success. So on success, oops, that's not how you spell success. We're having it go down the done branch, and it's gonna say, the response is going to be this output, which says your most recent email from Nate Herkelman has been successfully labeled as high priority. Here's gonna be another set field. This one's going to be try again. Oops, try again, and this one's going to be response, and we're going to say error, please try again. Okay, boom. So email agent basically done. We will do some more testing. I want to quick go back to the contact agent because I realize like it's working, because what it's doing now is it's looking in the last node for a response. But still, I just want to set it up the same way we had in the video. So continue using error output. Man, I should have just, yeah, I'm just gonna, just because I'm being lazy right now, just gonna copy those over to the contact agent, and then we're just gonna plug those in. So success, error, and then just move them up. Okay. All right, so contact agent done, email agent done. What's next is the calendar agent. So we're gonna create a new workflow here. We're going to call this guy calendar agent step by step, and same thing. Let's do execute sub workflow. So I'm sure you guys have realized by now it's a little bit repetitive as far as the way we're setting these things up, and the tools that we're adding. But you got to do what you got to do. You got to get in there and test them. Same thing. This input is going to be JSON.query. Okay, and system message for now we're going to leave blank. We'll be able to configure that in a bit here. We're going to grab our 4.0 at the bottom, of course, and we can start adding tools now. So we hit save, so we know the workflow triggers here. We're just going to come back in here, grab another workflow as a tool. We're going to call this guy calendar agent, calendar agent, and then call this tool to take action in calendar. Good enough for now. And then calendar step by step. We're plugged in, and here's where it says, and look in the last node for the response. So that's what the Ultimate Assistant's looking for. Got this set up, and keep in mind, no, pretty much no prompt in here yet. We just have the tools. We'll add the calendar agent as well. I'm just going to be use this tool to take action in calendar. So we've got that. Save that. Let's configure a tool here first. Let's just do create event in calendar, and then we'll test from the main guy. So this is going to be a create event with attendee, just so we can test it with attendee. And if you guys remember in the video, I talked about when you're creating an event, you obviously do start time, end time. You're going to add the summary is like the actual title that pops up in your calendar, and then you have attendees. And so why we have to have one node for creating events solo and one node for creating events with attendees is that if you leave this blank, the request will fail. So that's that. But anywho, let's add our from AI. We'll call this one the start time. Oops. We're gonna add our end time. We're gonna add our attendee, make it expression, attendee. And then I just want to specify, we want this to be an email address rather than a name, so that it can actually send them an invite. So the email address of the attendee. And then finally the summary is just going to be event title. Okay. So that one's set up. We shouldn't even have to prompt this guy yet. Let's test it back from this workflow. So let me just look in here real quick. Creating event with attendees. Okay, so let's try it. Create an event with Michael Scott for tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. for dinner. So we'll see. I don't think we gave the Ultimate Assistant what time it is, and we didn't give the calendar agent what time it is either. So it will probably create this event not tomorrow. I don't know when it's going to make it. We'll see though. We will see. It took a while to get that calendar or get that contact. It got Michael Scott's email information. It created the event for February 13th. Okay, wow. It actually knows what tomorrow is. How did it know that? I'm actually kind of impressed. Let's see. So here's tomorrow. Dinner with Michael Scott. I'm a little confused, to be honest. We never told any of them what time it is. I'm going to do it just because, we should. But I wasn't expecting that to happen. So anyways, final notes is the current date and time. I also realized that we didn't prompt the email agent to sign off as this. But yeah, it created the event with Michael Scott, and as you can see, it added his email as the attendee, which is not a real email, so I don't know what's going to happen there. But cool. So that's working. We'll give this another save. We'll come back into here real quick, just look at the execution, make sure we know that it really did pop over. We're gonna have to reload this. Hopefully I saved everything. No executions found. Well, that doesn't make sense because there definitely was an execution found. Okay, I don't know why that happened. I think it's just because we had to save it, but I mean, we just saw this come back. I mean, oh. That is ridiculous. I called the wrong calendar agent. So let's just try that again then. That's why it knew today. Okay. Yeah, I was calling the calendar agent that I actually built for the video. I'm sure, again, you guys probably saw that earlier. Create a calendar event with Michael Scott for tomorrow at 5 p.m. for basketball. Okay. Well, I'm glad we figured that out. I was really confused. I was like, maybe this AI stuff is getting way too smart, and it does know the current time without us telling it, or without it, showing it that function at least. So let's see. Calendar event titled Basketball with Michael Scott tomorrow 5 p.m. Let's take a look. I don't see it. Okay, well, we're going to take a look at this execution. I'm assuming this was what happened. It made it for the wrong day. I didn't give the calendar agent what time today is, so yep, it made it for November 25th, 2025, but everything else was correct. So let's come into here and give this guy the current time. Wait, let's see the query that it got though. So it was fed, because typically what I'd want is that the Ultimate Assistant would feed over, okay, so the user's asking for tomorrow, so I'm going to send over to the calendar agent and say, create an event for February 13th, because today's the 12th, but it doesn't always do that, so it just said tomorrow. Okay, cool. So we're going to just, as a second failsafe, either we could prompt the main agent, like, pass over the date or whatever, but, don't need to worry about that. Don't need to worry about that right now. What I'm going to do is just add in the simple fix. Here's the current date and time, and then we'll give it the $sign now. Might as well just throw in an overview while we're here, which is going to be super simple. You are a calendar assistant. You have tools to take action in calendar. Okay. Okay, so that one's working. Next, what we're going to do is just add an event. We're just going to do create an event, and this one will be solo. And so I don't know, we're just going to call it create event. I'm not sure in the video if I called it create event without an attendee. I don't think I did, but we're just creating an event. Darn. Trying to be efficient here. I just need to start copying and pasting these over, because the from AI functions you got to redo every time. So start time, end time, we're just going to delete the attendee, and that is literally it. The one thing we want to do is probably come in here and prompt it and just say, so tools, create event, use this to create an event when there will not be an attendee, and then create event with attendee, just to create an event when there will be an attendee. So I know that that's kind of like redundant, but you got to do what you got to do. So cool, we've got these. Let's just test it out and make sure that it's not going to use the wrong one. We're obviously going to come in here and set the query once again to create an event for tonight at 7 p.m. for dinner. So there's our query. Send that off. It should be going to create event without attendee. There we go. Pop into here. We are going to go to tonight, and we've got 7 o'clock dinner tonight. Cool. Okay. So now let's get events. And this will be helpful, so when we want to update or delete, we can do so. So this one's going to be called get events. Operation is going to be get many. Because in order, if we wanted to get, we would have to add in the event ID, and we can't get that unless we get get many first. So yeah, what we're gonna do is my calendar. We're not gonna return all. We are we gonna return all? Yeah, we're gonna return all, and then we're gonna set the before and after. And is that all we needed to do? Yeah, so we're just gonna set the before and after. So if we think about this logically, let's say we said get all my events from today. We're saying we need to, so today's the 12th. We're saying we need to get all the events from after February 11th and all the events before February 13th. So in the expression, what we're gonna say is from AI, and we're gonna say day before. And so this is a case where we likely need to explain what that means. The day before the date the user is requesting. Okay. And then from there, we're doing the exact same thing, but opposite. So this is going to be day after. And this is going to say the day after the date the user is requesting. So then we got that window, and it's going to grab whatever's in the middle. Cool. So as we know right now, all that's on our calendar tonight is dinner 7 to 8. So if I come back into here and just say, get my calendar for today, we'll see this in action. We'll see that it's going to grab, 11th and 12th. I already did that really quick because there's only one event. So here's our dinner from, where is it? The time zone. Okay, that's the time. It looks weird, but we can see here it put the 11th, here it put the 13th, and then our response was, all you have today is dinner at 7 o'clock. So cool. We got events, and then you can also see we got the event ID. So now we can take this ID and feed that into updating events and deleting events. So I learned from my mistake last time. Let's connect this tool. This one is going to be delete event. We're going to say delete event. And this one's specific because we need an event ID. Expression, we're going to grab this and do from AI. Oops, I don't know why that's not grabbing. And we're saying, whoa, okay. Event ID, I think I'm just going to leave it as that, and we'll see if it works. I want to add these two tools in as the prompt though, real quick. So what is going on with my enter button? Whoa, what in the world? Oh, I was entered in over here, and my keyboard was like grabbing stuff over there. All right. So what do we just do? Get events. Use this to get events. You must use this before updating or deleting events. Okay, that should be good for now. We're going to say delete events. Use this to delete events. And I don't think we have to say it again because we told it in the get events tool, but let's just try delete my dinner event tonight. Save that, send it through, get events, nice, pass the ID over. Let's see if it got deleted. Looks like it did. Sweet. Okay, so there goes the event. As we can see, we had the ID of the dinner right here, got passed over, which is great. And then we're gonna do the exact same thing, but this one's gonna be for updating. So this is update events. Rename that bad boy, spell it correctly, please. And we're gonna do update an event. So same thing, event ID. Honestly, I don't think we have to change anything, just throw it in the prompt. We're just gonna change this to update. We're gonna change that to update event, and then we're gonna change this to update events. Okay. So yeah, we'll update the event tomorrow. So tomorrow we have dinner 6:30 to 7:30. Let's just say move dinner tomorrow to 3:30, which is an early dinner, but it's gonna work for our example. Move my dinner tomorrow night to 3:30 p.m. So we'll see if this is good enough. It should be able to grab that dinner tomorrow night and do it. I don't think we need to provide more information, like it's with Michael Scott. Okay, so it had to create a new event basically because we didn't give it the ability in here to like add an attendee. Oh, I don't know. We'll have to see what's going on. It's calling a ton of tools here. So first of all, let's see what happened. Okay. Interesting. So okay, this is really interesting. So what I think happened is it created a new event with Michael Scott. It got the event, it saw what it was, it created a new one, and then it had to manually delete it rather than just updating. So this probably has a different event ID because it's not the same event. So let's look through the logs real quick. Okay. Move my dinner to tomorrow. So it got the events, it got the ID, it could see the attendees. It then thought about what to do. It went to update the event with this ID is the one to update. Okay, so it starts HLO. It then went to create a new event with a different ID. So it created a full separate one and then deleted the old one. Interesting. So that's actually really cool. Like that's a pretty smart agent, if you ask me. Like that's pretty sick, considering we didn't tell it to reason like that. What we want to do is add attendees here, and currently no. What in the world? Add attendees below default. Okay, so I'm gonna see what happens if we would have just done from AI. We would have said attendee, email address of the attendee. Okay. So that's undefined, yeah, whatever. Move my dinner tomorrow night to 1:30 p.m. Let's see what happens this time. Got event, updated event. Okay, and it moved it to 3:30. Cool. That's really interesting. I mean, I'm glad that it worked, and I'm glad that we were able to figure out to change that. But also, one thing this is really interesting though, because here's what else I just realized. In the Ultimate Assistant video, when I did the update event, I added where is it? I added start and I added end. And so I filled in again, like you're gonna fill in the start and end date, but it didn't need that. It moved it twice to the right time without that parameter. So I'm gonna leave that out. In the video, that's what I did. Maybe they have changed some things, but you know, this is cool. It's a little bit different than it was in the video. But anyways, bringing in these things once again. We're gonna change this to continue on air with error output and hook those up. Yeah, so let's try something else now. Let's test workflow. Can you send an email to Mark Johnson, just checking in on him? And then can you create an event for tomorrow night with Nate Herkelman at 8 p.m. to watch a movie? So it's going to be a multi-step, challenge for it. It's going to have to grab the contact information a couple times. So first thing, it's grabbing Mark Johnson's to send an email. And then it's probably grabbing Mark Johnson's. Yeah, so right now it grabbed Mark's and it grabbed mine. Created that calendar event, sent that email. Watched a movie with Nate Herkelman. Also really intelligent. It knew to make a movie 2-hour slot. Wow, I'm really impressed. What else did it do? It sent that email. Let's check in here with our sent to Mark. Just wanted to check in, see how you're doing. So as you can see, we didn't prompt it to sign off with our name, so that's why it's doing that. But man, this stuff is awesome. I love N8N. Cool. All right, and the last one that we had really was just that blog writing one. So let's connect that blog writing one. We're gonna do a new one. Blog writing. Oh no, we called it content creator. Content creator. And I will say earlier this morning, like the Tavily API was down. So I hope that that's not down, because then we won't be able to do this, or we could just have to connect to, Perplexity or something else. But yeah, I mean, it's been almost an hour. We're almost done with this thing. And I'd love to be able to wrap this one up with no major issues, which would be sweet. But anyways, from AI. Man, I am in the from AI zone right now. What we're doing is JSON.query. I was also, yeah, okay. So system message. This one's really simple. We're just going to say overview. You are a expert. No, you are an expert blog writer. Use the Tavily tool to create a blog. We're gonna leave it as that for now. Okay. So chat model, actually no, in the video we used Anthropic because what we're gonna do is we're gonna be getting back content from Tavily. And then with that content, we are going to be, well, you know, creating a blog. And I like the way that, I just like the way that Anthropic structures content, blog writing, all this kind of stuff. So, you know, it looks like it's up. I don't know why I'm in here. I wanted to go to the documentation just to show you guys how I'm connecting this. So we have our Tavily search. We have our endpoint right here. You know, the weird thing is if this was an HTTP request, we could just copy this curl. But for some reason with our, you know, HTTP request nodes as tools rather than the actual node, it doesn't let us curl. At least I don't think it does, which kind of sucks, but call this tool to search the internet. That should be good for now. We called this Tavily in the prompt, so we got to call it Tavily here. This is going to be a post authentication. I've already created a authentication for Tavily, so I'm going to go to header auth. What this is doing is, as you can see, Tavily credential. If we go back into the documentation right here, you can see that our authorization right here is going to be a header, and it's required. So, you know, in the API deep dive course, we would have explained all this also explicitly with Tavily, but we're going to put an authorization in the header parameters, which would be, we're sending headers. We're saying, okay, we need to send over the field authorization. We are inputting my actual API key, which it says you need to do bearer space API token. So that's where you put bearer space API token right here, right there. But what you can do is you can actually just create it as a credential. So you would do authorization here, bearer space, whatever here. And then that way you have it saved, which it keeps it, you know, private when we're, whoa. Anyways, it keeps it private, but then also like you can save it every time. So then when you're, every time you want to use Tavily, you don't have to re-go grab your API key. But we do need to send over a body. We're going to do this using JSON, and I'm going to be able to grab this data field, which is the body request that we're sending over to Tavily. Paste that into there, and we can leave this as a, you know, the way we use From AI, all we want to change is the actual query. So in this case, we're just going to use a placeholder rather than, you know, we could change it to an expression and put From AI in here, but we're just going to use the placeholder function that these nodes allow us to use, which is just, you know, curly braces, just one, not two. And we're just going to say search term. And then we had just define that down here where we say, okay, this is the placeholder we just created, and the AI is going to fill in this placeholder, and we describe it as the topic the user requested. So that should be good for now. We'll have to test it out. Let's give it a description about its tool real quick. Tool, Tavily was lowercase, and we're saying use this to search the internet before writing your blog. Okay. So let's test this guy out now. Query, and we're saying write a blog about, why can't I think of anything? Cameras, just because I'm looking at a camera right now. Write a blog about cameras. Let's see, hopefully the Tavily node is gonna work, otherwise we'll have to do a workaround. Looks like it is working, unless we get an error. Okay, so we got stuff about cameras, as you can see. And now it's creating the blog using this content, which is, you know, it's giving us a URL of an article about cameras. So, you know, we could obviously configure the stuff in here. Max result 1, so it's only going to pull back one article. It's going to be general topic rather than news. We could change this to, you know, 5 or 6. We could do other stuff, the days that we want to go back. But for the proof of concept, that's what we have. And then here is our blog post. So that's super simple, right? You know, that tool's really easy. That's all we did for this tool. Basically from here, it's the exact same thing. because the agent would be able to send over that query to this guy that would say, you know, write a blog about whatever. So we're going to save this. We're going to add this tool back to the agent. And in the workflow video, the Ultimate Assistant video, what I did was I also gave the main Ultimate Assistant, this guy, like a Tavily tool, just like we have right here. So I basically just gave him a Tavily tool, and it's the exact same way you set it up. And then you would just say, like, you know, you use that to search the internet, but you use this to create a blog. So content creator agent, I'm going to call it content agent in here. Call this tool to create a blog post, and then we just need to reference the correct one, which is the content creator step-by-step. Cool. So save this. We're going to add it in as this is in the system prompt, of course. So it's going to be content agent. Use this tool to create a blog post. Okay. So now we're in the stage where we have the main functionality set up. Real quick, I'm just going to add a, you know, Telegram response so we can actually get responses in Telegram. We're just going to be send a text message. We'll just call this guy response. And as you know, we need to set up the chat ID. So we're going to grab this from the Telegram trigger, which is the message ID. No, not that, right here. The from ID. And then the text, once again, we're going to do JSON output, which is coming from the Ultimate Assistant. Append NaN attribution off. And that's pretty much it. So from here, let's do some more testing. Cool. Test workflow. And we'll do text this time. Create a blog post about horses. I don't know why I did horses. I'm not a fan of horses. Yeah, not a huge fan of horses. So this one will take a little bit because, as we know, it's calling this tool. We go to executions, we should see it's running. The previous run took 21 seconds. So we'll see how long this one takes. My guess is going to be it's going to take 24 seconds. Just because horses are bigger than cameras. Honestly, pretty close. So 23 seconds, we'll come back here, and now it's using that to basically send that off to Telegram. So I'll open this up, and we can wait for that response. And as you see, you know, we sent that off as text, so it went down the text branch rather than the voice branch. It's interesting, 4.0 is taking a while. This is obviously the output from this agent is the blog post. And then, oh, okay. So let's see what we did wrong here. Message is too long. Okay. Okay, so we can fix this. This is just way too long for the Telegram. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do I wonder what the max tokens in Telegram is. I'm trying to think. I was gonna put this into like a tokenizer, but I don't know if it's tokens. It may be characters. So obviously, like, there's different ways we could handle this. We could, you know, we could tell it to. So look, if we come down here, we can see estimated tokens. So in the first run, it was 151. The second run, it was trying to create the output, and it used, you know, 1,230 tokens. But this was like looking at its system prompt and everything. I guess total tokens was 2,452. So I don't know if it's a matter of tokens here. That's not the issue. You know, the issue is on the Telegram side of things, where we'd have to like maybe bake in some logic to split it up, or, you know, check if it's too big. If it is, make it more concise. That wasn't within the scope of this Ultimate Assistant step-by-step. So I'm not trying to scope creep here, but I've seen this issue before, right? I think the first, you know, the way we could just fix this initially, you know, we could either send this. We could have a route where it's like, if it's a blog, we're going to not send in Telegram. We're going to send that in Gmail, or we're going to post this somewhere. You know, obviously right here, what we could do is just say, like, I wonder if there's a way I could just like see how many characters this is. How many characters is this? Character counter. Let's try this. count. Whoa. Okay, so 780 words, 5,409 characters. Yeah, I mean, I don't know why I did that. That doesn't really help. What I want to say is just like rules. And I'm just going to, for now, say like your final blog post output must be less than 500 words. Let's test that again. So it should be getting that same query. I'm just going to send it again, actually. Okay. So this is, that's obviously very reactive because I wouldn't have said that in the beginning and just said, hey, keep everything under 500 words. But now it's going to understand that. And when it hits the content creator agent, which I don't know why it's taking so long to do that right now, but when it hits that and it comes back, it's going to make that much shorter. Okay, that took a long time to call that content creator agent. We'll come back over here. We'll see if it's executing. We'll see how long it takes again. And then we'll look through the logs. So yeah, I don't really know why that took so long. As you can see here, we only got back one of our URLs. I'm curious to see if it's going to grab the exact same article. So this was rankkinksy.com/horse. So we'll see what this one grabs. 24 seconds. And the Ultimate Assistant's still running. It's making that more concise. Okay, so it grabbed a different URL that time. So that's cool. Anyways, let's see if we get an output this time. There we go. Okay, so that was the fix for now. I mean, this is still a pretty long message. We obviously could say, hey, like, don't start with here's a blog post. Just start right away with the title. We've got a brief history, breeds and characteristics, the language of horses, horses in sport and recreation, conversation and care, and a conclusion. So it was able to make this output a little more concise and then pass it into us in Telegram. So cool. Yeah, I mean, I hope that one was helpful, walking through step by step. We started with pretty much the contact one. We tested things each way. I know we didn't test out every single node and every single tool, but like I said, the purpose of this one was more just to have you guys be able to see, the flow of what a build like this looks like for me and how I sort of reason through what I'm doing. From here, I'd be, now that I know the initial functionalities there, now I get to get in and start to test, like, can it handle a multi-step query and can it do all this kind of this stuff? And yeah, so let me know. Obviously, there's lots of ways to enhance this. Now that we have some more human in the loop functionality, I'm excited to get in there and play with this and make an Ultimate Assistant that maybe is a little more intelligent with checking, hey, like, this is the contact you asked me to reach out to. Is this the right email address? If we approve it, then we'll send it off. Like, that's definitely going to be pretty cool to do soon. So awesome. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this one. Thanks.